Okay, we'll call this meeting to order and we'll start with the pledge.
The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll move to move as presented.
There's motion made by Commissioner Pelton, second by Commissioner Marsh to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Moving on to the agenda, Commissioner Marsh, any additions?
No.
Commissioner Dalzell,
No.
Commissioner Pelton,
No,
Mr. Kleeman? Okay, I have one. We need to add the variance for the Nelson gravel pit. Okay. Entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve the agenda.
There a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton or Commissioner Dalzell and second by Commissioner Marsh to approve the agenda with the addition of the variance for the Nelson gravel pit. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. I will turn it over to David with the road department.
On the road. Carl, are you online? We're kind of down a few. It is the season to get sick, I guess. So Carl's kind of a little under the weather, so to speak, even though it's a nice day out there today. So we'll run through here. Sometimes I crack myself up, I guess. Honey, right? The only one. That's okay. I live in my own world anyway, so I'm okay with that. Pretty much just continuing on, there really isn't too much of a change there. The only one that I kind of wanted to point out on Carl's is on 12th Street over there. So we're just kind of working through a redesign on what he had there. It's kind of a little complicated with the cemetery up on top of the hill, as normally we would take the dirt from that hill and kind of spread it out. Well, we can't relocate the people there. So we're trying to figure out a solution to how we can get that to be a safe place. So that one he's redesigning. We'll see what he comes back with. Other than that, he's still working on things and things are still improving there. He did say his 2025 projects, he's had his guys out there with this good weather, getting some ground survey and taking advantage of it. So that's always a good thing. And he's going to submit a scope of work here soon he's working on. So the next one is Mr. Darren.
Hi, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm the only one in class today, I guess. I just have some brief updates for you all as well. So our first item that we have on our agenda is just the manning improvements, and there's nothing really to talk about that, other than we started receiving paperwork, and one of them is just requests for sublets from Northern Improvement. So again, that's going to start this spring, but I just have that on as placeholder. I don't know if anybody had any questions or any discussion regarding it. Okay, hearing none. So 2nd Street Northwest and 84th, I've got some updates there, and I actually have more updates prior to this because I got a call last night. I'll start with what I have here. So I spoke with the Stu Millers a few times here in the last weeks. Their attorney's in the process of filing an ownership and encumbrance report with the other attorneys involved to determine what's still owed in back taxes to get the property released. The Stu Millers have an interest in getting this cleared up before the end of the year because they're looking at potentially selling that property. When I talked to them last Friday, they gave me permission to contact their attorney and work through them and see whatever the heck can be done. And Sandra called me again yesterday and she wants to reach out to Corey, and I don't know if she did, but regardless, I sent Corey some messages last week and didn't hear back from him, but I did hear back from him last night. He actually did call me back last night. He is very interested in getting this wrapped up as well. And then I also was able southwest. Talking with David, he was looking at maybe this Monday. Craig, I'm not sure if you're available this Monday or not, but I'll try to make that work. It works for you.
Oh, well,
Okay, so I'll coordinate with Mr. Bison and we can move forward on that. Any questions on 2024? Okay, so my last item is on 79th. So I had spoke with Larry Fry and he referred me to Cody. I met with Cody last week regarding the erosion that was occurring on the project. And yes, there is erosion out there. David and I also met with Midwest Erosion Control this past Monday. So the big hangup was with Schwartz saying that it was too muddy to try to get in there and fix it. And there are some areas that it's muddy, but there are also plenty of areas where they can actually go in and repair. We think we have a way forward. They're going to start doing some things of what they can do without getting stuck here this fall, and they're going to have to come back this spring. They should begin fixing them. If they don't get out there this week, then next week. But we're keeping the contract open and keeping pressure on them until it's performed to the satisfaction of the county. Questions on 79th? That is all I have for you all. Also, I guess, you know what, let's not. We did go out on New Raddick and met with David on New Raddick and reviewed some plans on that. And we're moving pretty fast forward with that. We look to get that thing bid pretty soon too. So the idea is to try to get it around the same time that Northern Improvement is going to be doing Manning, because it'll probably be a very competitive bidder and we might get some economy of scale if they are also awarded that job. So any more questions or any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Mr. James, he's another one that's down. I'm not gonna say my joke again because nobody liked it. So there's nothing new there. So Jeremy, would you mind?
Morning. So I've got just one pay estimate to present. That is for the 7th Street project. Out by Charlie's Pass. It's pay estimate number 3. The amount is $161,212.14, which would be payable to Martin Construction, which we are recommending payment to Martin Construction for that amount.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay request number 3 in the amount of $161,212.14 to Martin Construction.
There a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton, seconded by Commissioner Dalzell to approve pay estimate number 3 to Martin Construction on 7th Street Southwest, Charlie's Pass, in the amount of $161,212.14. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kleeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beener.
Yes, motion carried.
A couple other active projects, which I kind of skipped over. On 25th and 88th, north of Richardson, they have just a little bit of work left to do, mostly erosion control, which I think they're going to finish this week. So that gets done. I think we can probably have a final inspection in the next couple of weeks. We don't have a pay estimate for that project, but that one is under active construction. Should get done before colder weather next week, it sounds like. The other project that is actively being built is 25th Street from the Highway 22 going east. Wilson Construction is doing that project, and they probably have between probably less than half a mile to grade out. So they're going to kind of work through the weekend, whatever they need to do to get that done. The grading should be done in the next few days. There's probably going to be some erosion control, which might get done this fall, but most likely next spring. But the road top should get done in the next few days, actually. So that project should be substantially complete. I think that was probably it for the active construction project. We have several that have been bid, but it'll be started next year. Are some of our design projects, I don't have anything really new to report. Other than I think we're getting fairly close on one or two bid openings for the 2024 projects. I think by next meeting, at least I'm hopeful we can announce a couple bid opening dates, probably in January is what my guess is. Which ones those will be, I'm not entirely sure, but we got 3 or 4 that are, you know, perhaps one easement away type of thing, so. And last but not least, the BIA project, BIA 10, kind of working through a few different people trying to get a public input meeting set up. And now we're on kind of a new contact, trying to get something scheduled with the community center in Manning, or Mandarin, I should say. And we're kind of struggling to find something, an opening apparently before the end of the year. So right now, unless we can find an opening, we're looking at sometime in January actually. But there might be someone else in play that would help organize that, because we're just not getting a whole lot of responses as far as being able to schedule that. But get that thing scheduled, and we'll finish up the plans and go to bid on that. But we've kind of been trying for about 3 or 4 months to get an input meeting set up, and seems like we can't really gain any traction on it, but I think we're about as close as we ever have been, so. Some of our 2025 projects, we're putting our scope and fee together on those, kind of try to meet up with David, maybe even later this week. And we'll present those scopes and fees at the next meeting is what our intention is, so. Any questions from the commission about an individual project or anything else? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very appreciate it. Let's see here. There isn't any permits this week. We don't have any of that. Far as the county goes, we're taking advantage of the weather. Now that we were too wet, now we're trying to catch up after the wetness. So we got all the blades out, trying to get roads shaped up before it freeze up again. So that's kind of where we're at there. Going at it, we did get 2 new blades in. You'll see that on the bills. They just showed up. So we'll get them with the wings put on and get them ready to go too. So they're in the middle of that.
Good.
Any other questions for me? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Sally, you want to talk about the grant application?
Sure. I don't have a copy of that, of the new one right now, but last time we talked about it, Tracy made some suggestions in the wording that we changed, and I know Carrie Boster did make those changes. Part of it was for the wording of the federal mineral royalties. We were gonna change some of that and take it out. And then I think Tracy had a couple more suggestions. Carrie did make all of those changes. So we're just proposing now that starting January, we move forward with the process. If somebody comes and wants a donation or a grant, money from us, that we start using this application so that we have the backup and the information for our auditors when they come annually.
Yeah,
Any questions?
it's the main thing that I suggested was that not just federal mineral royalties, but we can use general fund dollar, gross production tax, oil dollars, if we need to or desire to.
Any other questions?
Do we need to approve that then?
We'd need a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the grant application for donations.
There a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Marsh to approve the grant application for donations for the county. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, the one thing we want to make sure that we get with Luann and try to get that information out to people.
Sheriff Kuhn, you said you needed to try to get in before 11:30. Would now work?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So at the last legislative session, they had House Bill 1307, which was better known to us as Back the Blue House Bill. It did pass. And what it was that it was a recruitment and retention bill for law enforcement to help all the agencies out there that are struggling with recruiting people and keeping people in law enforcement. So I think we all know that in this day and age, it's difficult to hire anybody, but law enforcement seems to be even more difficult. So I filled out the paperwork for it. The bill did pass both the House and the Senate. And we recently received the check for that. It was, I believe, $31,226. And I gave you the paperwork for it on what it can be used for. I guess they kind of left it up to the sheriffs and chiefs to decide how it should be distributed and used in their department. And, you know, we have a good group of law enforcement officers in Dunn County, and they've been through a lot through COVID and all this other stuff that we've had to deal with over the past few years. And my thoughts are that we distribute the money equally between our sworn deputies. I'll exclude myself from that, just so maybe they can have a couple extra bucks. Christmas is coming. I'm not recruited or retained. I guess I'm elected. So, and I think that will come up to right around $1563.30 per officer, per sworn deputies, excluding me. So I'd just like your guys' approval on that, to go ahead and distribute those funds and get them out to the guys. We have to report by the 30th, I think, of November on what we did with them. So just trying to get that taken care of, and appreciate your support on that. And I would also like to ask that maybe in the future, anybody that hire through Dunn County, we give them a $1,500 sign-on bonus. Something for you to consider. I don't need an answer on it, but I think if it was enough that the legislators voted on it, back this, it's probably something that we as a county maybe consider down the road as well. So, but
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go ahead and release some funds to be distributed as Sheriff Kuhn presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Pelton, seconded by Commissioner Dalzell to release the Back in Blue House Bill 1307 funds, correct?
yep.
Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, maybe do a roll call vote. I'm not.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dalzell,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton.
Yes.
Commissioner Kleeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beaver.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
You want to act on your other part you brought up?
Well, it's I mean, it's all for you guys to
Is
consider.
that?
Otherwise it'll get forgotten.
What's that?
Otherwise it'll get forgotten. And
That's something you want to do starting immediately?
Yeah, I think so, that any future hires, if you guys would be willing to grant a $1,500 sign-on bonus for law enforcement. I'm speaking for my department. I guess if the other department heads want to ask, I'll just ask for my department at this time.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Is that gonna cause a problem like in our road department and stuff too then for hiring people or in the courthouse? We're gonna have to give everybody a sign-on bonus?
I think what you're getting at is the state put this program out
Yeah.
there. He just wants us to kind of follow with it. Correct?
Yep, and you can put a time limit on it. You can do whatever you want.
I would-
I mean,
I guess, suggest like through the 2024 and then it can be revisited.
yeah,
That sign-on bonus, is there a length of time they gotta stay with us to do it?
I think you could say after a year they get it. I mean, you could set it up any way you want, but that might be a good idea. If, you know, from the hire date, if they stay on for after that first year, then they would be eligible for it. So,
Mr. Chairman, the Southwest Multi Correction Center does the same type of thing, recruiting officers for the prison. So, that's been very valuable. They have I don't know the timeline, if it's like 6 months, but there is when they're there so long, and if they leave, they have to pay it back if they can actually get it back, but.
and there are quite a few law enforcement agencies that offer sign-on bonuses. I think Dickinson does as well, Dickinson PD and several of the other ones. But like I said, I think if it was important enough that the state legislators actually approve this, and it is a problem out there, we got one applicant for our position that we got posted right now, and it's been open for weeks. So it's difficult. It's a difficult field to get into. Not a lot of people want to be in law enforcement right now because of all the public scrutiny, and it's becoming more and more dangerous every day. So, and your question about the road department, like I said, if the road department, I'll speak for my department. I don't think it's my place to speak for the other departments, but if they're having problems recruiting, I would think that that's something you guys could decide, or they could present to you themselves. And I don't feel comfortable speaking on their behalf, so.
These are just questions I just wanna bring out and be clarified so that, everybody's kind of thinks about it. And I do know one thing about the sign-on bonus. We've had it where you give a sign-on bonus. As soon as they get trained, then they go somewhere else.
And like I said, I think it would probably be good practice to put a time that they have to work before they're eligible for it, 6 months or a year. Tracy mentioned 6 months, so do I think it's a bad idea to offer it to all of our employees, all of our new employees? I don't think it is, but I don't know what difficulties they're having or how many applicants they're getting for their positions, so I would speak for that.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to postpone the decision and maybe have Sheriff Kuhn, come back with maybe looking at what other agencies do, and that there's a timeline, whether it's 6 months or when do they get paid, a few more details, and then I support it. I just think we need to know how it'll work.
I agree. I think you should just, we can have Desi take a look at that and look at it for countywide, what the impact would be also.
Okay. Yeah, and I can get with her when she gets back, and
Sure.
I will check on some other agencies too and see how they're doing it.
Is that a motion then to postpone it?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, second by Commissioner Marsh to postpone Sheriff Kuhn's $1,500 sign-on bonus until, it's postponed. So is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sally, you're ready to do the uniform line?
I just wanted to bring up in one of our department head meetings, we were talking about, some departments get a uniform allowance, like the road department, the weed department, the visibility safety gear, which we all understand. But we were talking, it would be nice maybe to add a line item to all departments' budget. That way, if you have a new person, you could get them a polo shirt, like the ones that we've all got. Up to this point, we've all bought our own gear. But we were just thinking as department heads, it would be nice for all the employees to have something that represented Dunn County that they could wear either to a conference, wear to work, something that looks nice. Just kind of so that we're all uniformed. But we wanted to get permission, so maybe, it's too late now for this year, but maybe next year we could add a line item to everybody's budget. So each person in the department could get 1 or 2 shirts for the courthouse or over at the weed department, Sarah, in the emergency management. It's just something we talked about just to make everything look a little more professional and a little more uniformed. So we just wanted your guys' approval, maybe for next round of budgets, that we could add a small line item for that.
You don't have a dollar amount. You just said 1 or 2 shirts.
Yeah, so I'm imagining in the past, the polo shirts that we've got, they're usually about $25 with the logo. So I don't imagine anybody's line item would be more than $300 for uniforms. Maybe Lisa's a little more because she has 4 people, but so that every year you could get, something that just a little more professional and again, uniformed. So everybody knows if they come to the courthouse for an event, who actually works for the county, if they have questions, things like that.
Any comments or questions?
No, I think it's a good idea. I think it would be nice. I don't know if we're not doing it now, if it's just something that can go ahead in the next budget and
Yeah, we don't need a motion.
Yeah.
Just something.
just to add it, and then we would approve the budget next time.
I agree. It's nice when you go to
What's that?
conference. It's nice when you go to a conference and
Oh.
and you have the Dunn
You're-
County logo.
Representing, yep.
Yep.
I agree. Okay. Thank you, Sally. That variance, I don't know if we should wait until we talk,
Maybe we should, yeah.
wait until we talk about the CUPs.
Sandy. Can Sandy come in?
What's that?
But I don't know.
I don't think anybody was going to show up for the CUPs.
No, this is for, he's looking at Sarah for a different line.
Oh,
I know, but I mean.
I don't
maybe
know.
Sandy
I
can
better
come
wait
in.
until 10 for that one.
Okay.
Might be somebody.
I don't know, but somebody might.
About the little mole.
That, we're waiting. Well, no, we're waiting on the variance till 10. Yeah.
Is there anybody for Carrie? The little mole?
Carrie here?
And Carrie,
Sarah.
is Carrie, is that something that's gonna take,
Oh, there's
other
Sarah.
people are coming?
Sarah's here.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hi, good morning.
I just wanted to come in and give a quick update on the Christmas for Kids. I'm excited to be able to help with this year. I did go ahead and create a Sign Up Genius to send out to all of our staff. You guys should have received that as well to sign up for food donations. We still have some money in that COPE fund that we can use to buy the meat, and this will be purchased or used to purchase some hams. So the meat will be provided. I'll go ahead and I'll monitor that sign up to make sure we're getting enough food, which I don't think we ever really have a problem with. Once it gets closer to that, I'll send out reminders, things like that, and just stay on top of that. We're going to open this up to all employees, and I also did send out an email to some of our engineers and some of the contractors that we use through the road department, some of the businesses that the courthouse uses in general, for them to come and participate, just an invitation email with a letter, letting them know that we will have a free will donation basket set up that day. And if they are unable to attend, I did provide our address as well, so they can also send a check if they would like instead. We plan to set up tables in the entryway, the main lobby here. That way we have seating for people that do show up, and they can come whenever they want. We'll serve from 11:30 to 1:30, kind of give that window. I know a lot of people like contractors and stuff, they're busy, so they might just be coming through mining. They can pop in real quick and enjoy a meal. We're gonna have some fun with it too. We're gonna ask employees and the commissioners to wear a ugly Christmas sweater or ugly sweater of some kind, or it can be a pretty sweater, a cute sweater, whatever kind of sweater you want to wear. Just kind of have some fun with it. And I did encourage the contractor, some of those people, if they wanted to participate in that, to do so as well. Any comments on the Christmas for Kids?
Any questions or comments?
And we'll do that December 6th.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. And then something I wanted to present was a few employees brought up the idea of having an open house. Christmas gets so busy, we're hopping into the holiday season here, so I thought it would be a good idea to do something right after Christmas and make it a New Year's celebration. We want to hold the open house on December 28th as the date that I'm proposing, from 1 to 4 here at the courthouse, and have it open to the public. That way our kids are kind of still on holiday break, and we want to kind of surround this around them, and they can participate as well. We would like to have refreshments and treats to share with everybody for all who attend. We'll ask the employees to donate baked goods and other treats and snacks to share at the open house. And then we thought about having like a coloring contest for the kids and a writing contest for the older kids. I came up with some coloring sheets that we could get out to the elementary schools, and then a writing contest that would, the topic would be, in the new year, I can help my county buy. And then we would get those to the school so they can get those done before they go on Christmas break, and then go and collect those and hang them up in the main lobby here for everyone to view during that open house. We thought that we would maybe provide some prizes if possible. So something that I would like to ask the commission is if we can use $150 out of a budget. I'm not sure which line item that would come out of. I could talk to Sally on that, just to do some cash prizes for first, second, third place. I divided it into 4 categories, like 4 age groups. And then just use the extra $20. I guess $160 is what I said on here, because I would do a $20, I think I said a $10 and a $5 for second, third prize for 4 different categories. And there would be $20 left over, and I'd use that to purchase some ribbons, just the first, second place ribbon to put on those. And then we could display those in the entryway, and have staff would vote on those to choose the winners for that. Also, another item that came up to go along with that, I know it gets to be kind of a lot, but we thought it'd be cool. Working at a school, we had the Sax Motor Company. They always do a Christmas tree contest, and every school would participate in that. I know we don't have quite enough schools locally around here to be able to do that, but I thought we could open it up to some businesses. It doesn't even have to be a contest. I think we should just do it as a display and send it out to just a few of our local businesses that we use frequently, and open it up to our departments to participate. And I'd say keep it to around 10 trees. You don't want to overcrowd it out there, and have each department, if they would like, or businesses, decorate a Christmas tree to display. And we could do that decorating the week right after Thanksgiving, and have those up all the way through that open house, and then have the public come and vote on their favorite Christmas tree when they come in. They would have to provide their own tree and their own decorations. We would provide cords, obviously, to help get those plugged in if we have those. If not, we could ask some employees to bring some different power strips and stuff, but I think we would be able to round up quite a few of those around here. Just something to get the public coming into the courthouse and to promote a positive work environment and let them know that we have fun here too.
Questions?
Chairman, I think that sounds really nice and bring some good PR to Dunn County and bring the kids in. That's always good. So I think it all sounds good.
Yeah, I think it'd be a wonderful thing to do. It'd be a lot of fun. Any other questions or comments?
I can tell you, I have heard a lot about the Halloween and people, their children were so excited.
Yes.
So they're looking forward to next year.
I think the event's gonna grow for sure. We, start different events like this, different things just to get the public coming into the courthouse. It's a beautiful building and people don't come here unless they need to, pay a bill or conduct business. I think to have some different public events that are, incorporate fun is a good idea for our
Yeah.
communities.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we allow the $160 for prizes and ribbons for the Christmas event.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Dolzall, second by Commissioner Marsh to approve the Christmas for kids and the $160 for prizes. Is there any comments or is there any comments? Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dolzall,
Yes.
Commissioner Pelton,
Yes.
Commissioner Kleeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beaner.
Yes, motion carried.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sarah.
Carrie, are you ready?
You got a document with Sally's for later.
We
We already did that.
You did this?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, but thank
Oh,
you
it's a-
for the update.
You gotta get up in the morning to beat us.
We were making the correction. We were approving. I'm gonna keep.
Yeah. Thank you. Plant a tree. Never mind. Apparently, it's already been done. No wonder you looked at me like, what?
We have the other deal.
Okay, so, good morning. Apologize, let me catch up and catch my breath a little bit. We are here today to talk about the Little Missouri State Park. That is the state park that is north on 22, not to be confused, if you will, with the campground.
Mhm.
This conversation started when patrons started calling Commissioner Dolzall, and she can bring you up to speed on that, about the fact that many of the trails out at the Little Missouri State Park are impassable and they refuse to bring their family there to recreate anymore for that purpose. We learned, once we started doing some research, I immediately called the state, and the state parks had received the same and similar concerns and complaints, and the numbers show as well that their visitation is down. And I have those in my office, which I can share with you later. Not only is their visitation down, but the local property owners who have opened up their private property for public use have been receiving complaints that the trails aren't in good repair. And you and I know, and probably many of you more than I, that the Badlands are living, breathing, seasonal piece of geography that we all have to deal with. And so a lot of deferred maintenance on state parks, if you will. They have put together a work plan with trail maintenance within their boundary, because most of that state park is private, not public. And the thought was we could bring it to you to see if you'd be willing to assist them in their efforts. They certainly have the budget for it. They certainly have the equipment for it. But in that conversation, it was suggested that we take it to the Dunn County Park Board to see what their thoughts were, just to help build consensus as we move forward. Part of that conversation was also with Commissioner Kleeman. He said, well, let's get Tom Benz out there because he is one of the larger property owners who leases to the state park. Tom showed up at the park board meeting. Commissioner Dalzall as well as Commissioner Kleeman were there and a full contingent of the park board. And I believe that they have certainly not within their purview to work, but they have a recommendation for you to consider and to build consensus before we move forward any further. Their consensus, their thought was that this is something that is firmly JDA because it fits into tourism, which is one of those things that we are required to work or authorized to work within. It is not in our budget to do trail maintenance. Tom and Burnell, who is also now Appledorn, who is also on board, and the park board felt that if there was general consensus from this body to do some estimates of what it would cost to repair those trails on the private land that is opened to the public through a lease, because there's so little public access, and this is one way of doing that, then that would be the appropriate way for Dunn County to move forward. They don't want to put the work into getting the necessary estimates. They don't want to move forward with private. They also want to make sure they use local contractors who do the work versus bringing somebody in from Bismarck if at all possible. They don't want to move through that process and to gather the bids necessary to do the necessary work in the Badlands of that property area without a general consensus from the county commission, because it's outside of the JDA board's budget and because it's outside of the park budget. When that document comes in and we know how much those repairs will cost, the JDA will be here asking for additional funds to do that repair. I'm going to leave it with that. Commissioner Kleeman, Commissioner Dalzell, you were both at that meeting. Did I capture a synopsis or do you have other thoughts?
Well, we'll want to be in here too, but we're way ahead of schedule.
Will.
I thought we were gonna sit down and talk with them and find out just exactly what their thoughts are.
The park board,
Park board.
state park?
State park.
State park actually drove out and visited with Tom.
Okay.
He went home and he made a phone call. They were in Dickinson. They drove up and visited with Mr. Benz. They think that's a fantastic idea.
Well, I could expect, we're doing work for them.
I would expect that too.
Yeah.
But short of knowing what it's gonna cost, it gets a little tricky to sit down and have a conversation.
So how many miles does the state have that they're gonna fix?
Approximately 9 miles,
And then what would be the private?
about 35-ish or so.
35 miles of.
There's a lot of trails out there.
When you say 35 miles, you're not,
all.
No,
you're fixing spots in
they
there?
are fixing spots.
Okay.
Not a contractor, can't drive a cat.
Hmm.
I have a cat, but
Different kind?
different kind. From the people around the table who know and have those kind of skills and do that kind of work, they thought it might take about a week of a small D9
Yeah.
dozer or something,
You
going
would-
through those areas that get that cave, that
Yeah.
slide.
I myself think with the D4, you could do it in 3 days.
There you go.
That's my,
Mhm.
that's what I and Tom both thought.
So,
So are we talking 100,000? Are we talking 20,000? What are we
We don't
talking?
know, Commissioner Marshall.
So I guess,
No.
Mr. Chairman, the idea of having locals rather than say, the state park getting somebody in, I mean, their costs, and then they even talked about providing housing for them while they're here and doing all. We feel, and Tom feels, that if we can get someone more locally or regionally, that the cost would be significantly less. So that was the other thing. And that Tom and Tom Benz and Burnell Appledorn, with their lease with the state park, they're able to do the improvements on their own without the permission of the state park. But the thing is, these trails all connect and intertwine. So it's, in the end, we need to work with the state too, that they do what they need to do. And And we will, I think, sit down with him and, once we know, but to start with, I think what Carrie's saying and what the park board talked about was that we, just as a commission, agree that we can move forward and perhaps we can use, some of our federal mineral monies to assist with this on the private part, because the state park will not do that, as far as I understand. And again, I mean, that is kind of a very popular in the state of North Dakota, that park. And the tourism and what it brings to Dunn County is very, it's kind of not necessarily a secret, but it's very well, known, and people like to go there. It's beautiful. So I think as far as tourism goes, I think we need to, at least right now, agree to have this move forward and get some, estimates of what that cost might be, and in general support. I mean, according to Tom, I don't think it's going to be, they're just spots. It's not the whole trails. So we really don't know the cost yet, but
Do we have to bid that out though?
That's why I'm asking, is it 20,000 or is it 100,000?
Well,
Because that's going to depend on the bid.
right.
So at this point, we truly don't know, and we're not asking for funds today. We are asking for consensus that we should move ahead and get a loose estimate. And if it gets to that point, what is that magic number?
It's 150. Or
If
is
it's
it 100?
over.
David, is it 100?
200.
200.
Yeah, it's
Over
200 now.
200, which I believe it'll be probably closer to 30 or 50, but I'm guessing. Then of course it has to go to bid. But if it's over 200, then maybe it's time we sit down and say, maybe this isn't our project.
Mhm.
But we didn't want to bring in the state parks and say, we're moving forward without knowing if you had consensus that this is worth moving forward on, to see what it's going to cost, and then measure whether or not you want to vote for it.
So is the state going to move forward even if we will decide not to?
The plan is that the state will move forward with their plan of work when spring comes.
Spring of 24?
Yes, they will start to do theirs. They did clarify to Tom that those trails, they indicated they were going to close. Their intent is not to close. Their intent is to no longer provide maintenance for it. So it'll be signed, no maintenance on this trail.
That's
At your own
that's
risk.
on the
Enter at your own risk.
See, that's where I think we need to sit down and talk with them and find out just what their plans are and what they're doing, because,
They do have.
I mean, I rode a bunch of those trails last week when my son's got cows down there. We ride. And yeah, there's some of them slid, and there's spots where you can go a mile and then you might have to take a cat and push a little slide out of the way. It's not like you're gonna make trails.
Mhm.
So if they're gonna close some of these and this, I really think we need to sit down and talk with them and then see what we're going to do first. And before we, I have no problem doing this, but I think we just need to know what we're going to do.
You know,
Exactly.
I don't think we want to go on the outside and connect trails up to a trail that they're going to be not doing maintenance on.
And to be
Right.
clear,
the roads, the trails they're closing are the ones on the private
the
property.
trails they are closing are on the private
Yeah,
land.
but we don't
and-
want to connect one to that.
But Tom's intent is that it not be closed, at which point in time, with the appropriate funding, the cat goes over and the trail is open.
So really what you want from us is go ahead and move forward, get some estimates, talk with the state.
Bring the state
and
in, find out what the
really
whole
get a-
plan looks like, because
Okay.
otherwise it's just an idea. And if it's not a fundable idea, then we've wasted their time. We've wasted the private contractor's time
Right.
and the private landowner's time. And you still have the opportunity to say, this is too much,
Right.
or
Yeah.
this isn't enough.
So-
But it's a consensus vote just primarily because
Kind of a consensus to have that meeting
Move
to
and
move forward
to
with
have
the
a
estimate,
contractor look at it.
to see what we're gonna, because it is outside the JDA regular budget. It
Mhm.
wasn't budgeted for.
And the other thing I would really like to check on that after we had our meeting is if we go and make these trails and stuff, who's liable?
That would be a contractual issue
Yeah.
within their contract, and I believe everything.
Well, who's liable now, though?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you got the same issue right now, whether you fix them or don't fix them, somebody's liable.
I have not seen the contract, but Tom and Twyla have read it multiple times and as well as getting, and I've said, please read it again. But they are not prohibited from doing anything on that land. In terms of trail work or whatever they wanted, fences.
Right.
All they need is permission from the adjacent landowner. And in this case, it would be Mr. Appledorn and vice versa. Because they share fence lines and the trail crosses back and forth.
I don't think it would be any different than the contractors that do our road projects. You know, they have to have the insurance and so a contractor that goes out there and does the work would have to have the proper
Right.
insurance.
Bob, you're kind of worried about if we go maintain it or open up a trail, that you're worried that we're liable for that trail in the future if somebody gets hurt.
Well,
No.
I guess the thing about it is we don't have at least.
No.
The park has at least from Tom, they have at least from Burnell. So it's just like if I lease a house from you and then you come in and start doing things. You know, I just like to get an understanding with the park. Okay, what are you thinking? What are you gonna do?
And I think
Before
that
we
would
jump
be
in.
appropriate,
You know,
short of. Once we have consensus that this is something that you feel might be worth moving forward on, then it would be appropriate, have a loose estimate of what it's gonna cost, who's doing the fun, and Tom tells me that he's the person who would be coming to the JDA, no different than any private business, coming to the JDA to get a
Grant.
a grant to do this type of work.
Mhm.
So it's not the county's liability, but this is outside of our budget. And you are right. I do think that they should sit down, but, and again, nobody wants to waste anyone's time until we know if there's even desire to assist these private landowners in this process.
Well, who built the original trails?
who made the original trails? Park board. They had.
Even on Benz's and,
Yeah, they had a D4 cat and Thor's, I'm pretty sure Thor Sandvik, he run cat quite a bit. So I'm pretty sure that between the park board and Mr. Sandvik, that they built the trails,
Was it the Dunn County Park Board or the State Park Board?
State.
the state. Yeah, the Dunn County Park Board's never had anything to do with that.
Exactly, yeah. That's my understanding as well.
I would be in favor of having your group, whether that's the park board or whoever, with Tom and Burnell, move forward, trying to figure out what really needs to get done and how much that is going to cost. Because if it comes back reasonable, I personally would be in favor of moving forward just because of the impact.
I agree. I think we should get together, talk things out, get some estimates but basically does the county commission kind of stand behind moving forward? And like Carrie said, we still have the option. We're not committing any funds yet, but we'll see where things go, but.
And to be clear, this would be going through the Job Development Authority, not through the Dunn County Park Board.
Right. For funding.
For
if it-
funding,
If it's approved. Okay,
because nobody wants me driving a cat.
that's true.
It'd be fun.
I'm okay with
I would try.
it.
Yeah, it might not be good.
So do we need a
So
motion?
was that a motion that you made earlier?
Yes. That's a
Second.
Okay.
motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Marsh, seconded by Commissioner Dolzall to approve to have a meeting at the state park. And, correct? To have a
Yeah.
meeting and
And,
meet with the landowners and get a rough bid,
Mhm.
a rough
Right.
idea what we're dealing with,
Make sure that, yeah. Mhm.
but not funding the project yet.
Correct.
Not at this time.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. I'll give all of the parties a call.
Thanks, Carrie.
Let's take a quick 5-minute break before 10.
Difference between a slow 5 minutes and a fast 5 minutes.
Yeah, we were.
You talked too much.
This could be a-
You talked too much.
Feel my new sweater I got at Costco.
In it.
Right, but it feels good.
That, paper I had you earlier right before we started, that's just.
They're not there.
That's it. That's the two tab.
I looked at.
So we can, meet sometime here.
What's that,
We can, meet with him sometime.
John? He's not gonna be in, him and Base. They're gonna fight. And I don't know, John just said, thought they're gonna do that. Move the hell out of here. I don't know. And then his mother taught me across the street. Or his mother, yeah. I hate to get rid of them, he's one of my neighbors. Just,
You're the one that told us you'd go meet with him, so
what's that?
you're the one that sat here and told us you'd go meet with him.
Yeah, well,
Things to get into.
have you talked to Rick? Dreams?
About gravel?
What?
About gravel?
Yeah.
Actually, Keith met with him this morning at 8 supposedly.
Did he?
Yep.
Cause he said he gotta go up there and dig and see where, what there is there might not be any work.
That's what we plan on doing. He's gonna meet and they're gonna look and then, we'll send a pull up and poke some holes and. Fine.
Then what was, Scott was talking about somewhere too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he needs to talk to him.
Yep. Right out here.
Yeah, that deal with John up there, I don't know. It's, if a guy could move them to town for a week or 2 weeks and go ahead and crush it, I don't know. I know that little girl, she gets sick, we're in a freaking lawsuit that we're never gonna get out. And anytime she could go regardless dust or not.
No, it's gonna be. You'd have to prove it was the dust.
Well, it would be the lawsuit.
Yeah, because we do together.
Yeah.
I swear.
Tested, come back negative.
Progress.
Tested, come back negative.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sandy?
Good morning, Commissioners. If we could possibly do the variance first, since that should be approved prior to approving the CUP for the Nelson Pit. This was brought to you August 2nd and was postponed. So I'm asking for this to be brought back up and approved. I gave you a copy of the variance, but I also included a copy of a map that shows there's a Ducart residence close, and our ordinance requires you to stay back 1,000 feet from the residence. So that would have to be one of the conditions of the CUP last night. It would have to be surveyed out so that the crusher would know exactly where that line would be, that they would have to stay back 1,000 feet. And then they could work into the section line to the south and to the east, but they'd have to stay out of that buffer zone of 1,000 feet. So the variance would be for the section lines that are out of that 1,000 buffer.
I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of gravel in those spots.
Yep.
But we do need to stay with 1,000 feet from the house. So that little corner in the very northwest corner, we would not be able to mine. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and just like we got a variance for the Bezlachek pit not too long ago. We did the same thing. You guys approved the variance. We just come up to the edge of the road, and then we use the reject and put it back in to get a nice slope back, so we don't leave a vertical or anything. So
Turned out really nice.
yep. And we would stay, like you said, we would stay that 1,000 feet away, even at the variance. We'd have to stay that anyway. So
Motion
Right.
to approve the variance?
Is there a second? Is there a second? Chair, okay, motion made by Commissioner Marsh, seconded by Commissioner Pelton to approve the variance on the Nelson hit. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Thank you. So last night we had a planning and zoning hearing, and I did give you the minutes. We did bring the Nelson pit back. That was postponed. So we have we have a scoria pit that is located on Roger Malhoose's property. And we have the Nelson pit, and the planning and zoning board brought forth that they would like those both approved. And we did add some conditions to the Nelson pit. And those are on the minute there.
Any questions or comments?
okay, I do on Badlands aggregates. It was put on there that they needed to come to me about the section line improvement.
Yes.
After talking to him, really what he really meant was he was just gonna put scoria on it, like not build the road up, not improve it, whatever. So, I mean, scoria is kind of improvement, but just put surfacing on it, basically. So at that point, it doesn't become a section line improvement per our specs there. It would just be more or less a haul road agreement where he would agree to keep that surfacing in good condition. So
Has he done the whole road agreement?
have not yet. We haven't done that yet. I'm just wanted to clarify the difference between the agreement and a section line improvement.
So if we approved him, we'd want to make sure that that is done before that'd be a condition.
Yes.
So he's just going to improve that enough to get the trucks out of the pit, I'm assuming.
There's a road, there's a road there. He's just gonna put there's already scoria on it. He was just putting more on it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Chairman Venus, you'd like me to take off the section line improvement permit and put on the haul road
All
agreement?
road
Okay.
agreement. Any questions or comments?
I got one more if I may,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. And as far as the pit that we're talking about, it is our plan, just so everybody's aware, that on 15th it goes into Ducart's. It is planned to do a small project, barring we get easements from Mr. Ducart there. I was calling him Commissioner, it's been a while. Mr. Ducart, see if we can get those easements. We'll get that road built up as a small project. So just so everybody's aware of that.
And how soon were you gonna start on the Nelson pit? Once you're approved?
Yes, they're, like I said, they're actually waiting. They're gonna move there to New England, so.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
I would make a motion to approve both pits.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Marsh, seconded by Commissioner Kleeman to approve both CUP permits. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I just need a signature, Cody.
Is Sarah online?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're up, please.
I believe you all have received the email I sent. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So the multi-hazard mitigation plan is something that we participate in every day, basically, but we have to renew it every 5 years. And the state is strongly encouraging us to utilize the BRIC grant to help pay for the renewal. And the documents I gave you are just documentation needed to initiate that grant application. So all I would need today is a motion, I guess, to approve going forward with utilizing using the BRIC grant as an option to pay for it, and that would be by signing these two documents.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go ahead and approve the emergency management mitigation plan using the BRIC grant.
Okay, there's a second.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Dalzell, seconded by Commissioner Marsh to approve the mitigation plan grant. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Sarah.
Sally, could you print those out and have Cody sign them today, and then I'll pick them up tomorrow?
Yes, I sure will.
Thank you very much.
All right. Everybody got the vouchers, I believe?
That RDO charge, that's for 2 blades. Is that what David said?
Yeah, 2 blades.
Are they on here twice?
It looks like she made two.
What's that?
One printed front and back and one printed just the front. I just noticed that too.
Here, I just thought you were getting really good and saving paper.
Saving paper.
I would not even look at that page anymore.
We were just at a meeting the other night and the guy said, I finally figured out how to do it. So that's what he did.
We're not paying them twice, are we?
A lot of bills.
They'd like that, I imagine.
And got to the next page yet.
What's this? Do you know what FIDE? This one, FIDE, FIDEM. See? Something of service. Do you know what that is?
It's under vision list. That's,
Oh,
that's their reimbursement.
okay. Okay.
That's for the bag grant,
Oh,
Oh.
their reimbursement for that. Yeah.
Just didn't look familiar to me.
Yeah, I knew.
Yes. It's a new guy.
Oh,
Have another lady facilitating their
Uh-huh.
grants. Now they hired, so they hired a new man to do it.
okay. Thank you.
With this JLG, are we done with
That's the
final?
double check though. Let me look.
Capital projects, Kilder Shop, number 15.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about that.
I think that should be, not JLG, but,
J.E. Dunn. Yeah. We're gonna have to change that because yes, it's J.E. Dunn.
J.E. Dunn pay application.
Yeah.
Is that the last one or doesn't it say on there?
Okay, oh, yeah, balance to finish, 0. Yep. That's
Good.
the last one.
Done.
That's J.E. Done instead of JLG.
Yeah, J.E. Dunn.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second,
Motion made by Commissioner Kleeman, seconded by Commissioner Dolzall to approve the vouchers. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Marsh,
Yes.
Commissioner Dolzall,
yes.
Commissioner
Hilton. Yes.
Commissioner Cleveland.
Not even 10. You know, it is.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner.
Yes, I'll be a yes
A
too.
little distracted.
Motion carried.
What's your name again?
Okay,
What's your age?
is Laura? Hi, are you waiting for somebody still? If you're ready, you can come on up.
From home on the range. I don't know if you've ever had one on the range cookie.
No, they make,
Oh, this will be good.
Thank you.
Famous. Once you-
We're not gonna get it. He took them.
Well, I should have started on the side.
Gotta share. Thank you.
he's had a cookie or two.
Yeah. He's a lot of fluff, but he's not missing any meals either.
Standard poodle. He looks just like our Oscar.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, so I'm Laura Feldman. I'm the executive director at Home on the Range. And this is Taves. He's our therapy dog in training. I always say in training because, you know, he's still a dog. So, yeah, I will let you know that Luann's the one that asked me to come and speak to you today. So you can thank her for the cookies. So Luann, we're fortunate enough to have on our board of directors. And one of our strategic plan agendas is to inform North Dakota across the board more of who we are and what we do. A lot of people, thank you. Okay. How many of you have heard of Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch? Most of you. How many of you have heard of Home on the Range? Most of you. Okay, good, good. So I'm just going to brief you a little bit on who we are, what we do, who we serve, and the why. So I know I've got about 10 minutes, I think I hear, so I'll try and be cognizant of your time and flip through a little bit. So Home on the Range is a residential treatment center. We're located in right by Beach, North Dakota. We're actually a working cattle ranch. So we're located 7 miles from Beach, and we do the AIing and we do the cedar sticks and the whole bit. So you take a Fargo kid who's never even seen a live cow and you put their hands in places they never thought they'd be. It's quite interesting, right? And it's funny because initially they're like, oh my God, I'm never doing that. And then by the end, these, hard kind of criminal kids are like, oh, I want to go next, right? So it's super fun to get to watch that transition in our kids. We work with kids aged 12 to 18, boys and girls. They come to us from either human service zones or Division of Juvenile Services. He would love to go visit. Does anybody mind if I just turn him loose to go say hello? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Send
He-
them around.
Go visit. Go visit me. Okay. I'm going right to David. Go visit. Bob. So we work with boys and girls. We get referrals from all across the state. We do a lot of really interesting things that our area in North Dakota allows us to do. So like I said, we're on the working cattle ranch. We've got a lot of horses and we do rescue dog programming. So our kids are involved in a lot of animal assisted therapies. Taze is one of our therapy dogs in training. We also have Brutus, who is in the schoolroom with our education coordinator. And, it's interesting when you involve animals, how the whole feeling of a room changes, right? So I bring Taze in and there's a lot of smiles that I see and a lot of reaction and, oh, I want to pet the dog, right? So you take a traumatized kid and you introduce them to an animal and it's that same reaction, except even more so, because for our kids who have experienced complex trauma across the board, humans are not safe, right? That's where the damage has been caused. If you think about trauma, when you experience a trauma, when relationships, it's from another human, right? So you bring in a dog, you bring in a horse, and it's amazing to me how much safer 1,200 pounds of horse flesh is as compared to a 120-pound man. It's phenomenal. So like I said, we do a lot of interesting therapies. We have had some financial challenges in the last 5 years. In 2019, North Dakota implemented the Families First Preservation Act. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but essentially it caused a complete flip of how people and agencies like ours do business. And there's lots of reasons for that. But one of the changes that occurred is that the state used to reimburse 80% of our costs prior to 2018, and now they're down to 53%. So our fundraising committee has to make up that section, right? The Karas Fund, I'm sure most of you have heard of Edwin Karas and his family. They've been very generous with us, and they had a trust with us that will end next year. And this year it's been about $1 million that they were able to contribute. So we will be missing that after next year. And so that that gap becomes more difficult and challenging to fill. So that's challenge for us, right? Who we serve, who our kids are. So the ACE study was a study that was done in the late 70s that studied obesity. And what they found out was childhood traumas contributed a lot to these health issues they were seeing, right? The drug addiction, obesity, heart conditions. And so they further studied this. And there's an ACE assessment that all of our kids get when they come in. And it's a list of 10 different traumas that children can experience, either things that happened to them, things that happened around them, or things that didn't happen for them, right? So on a score of 1 to 10. And the research finds that if you have an ACE of 4, you are 6 times more likely to commit suicide. If you have an ACE of 4, you are 47 more times likely to use injected street drugs. An ACE of 6, you just lop off 20 years of your expected life, okay? Our kids are boys right now, their ACE is 4.5. And typically kids underreport because they don't even recognize the things that have happened to them as trauma because they're just everyday life, right? So 4.5 is what the boys have reported, and our girls report 7. Where do our kids come from? Who are our kids? I was doing some stats, and I'll be presenting with you guys today and then Wofford City tomorrow. And I put together your counties and how many kids from these counties we've served in the last 3 years. So in the last 3 years, I don't know if I can go back. In the last 3 years, we've treated 42 kids out of these counties. So your kids, right? The kids from this area. North Dakota defines sex trafficking as the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or solicitation of a person for purposes of a commercial sexual act, in which the commercial sexual act is induced by fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such an act has not turned 18 yet, right? Sex trafficking is an issue in North Dakota. It's often an issue that people don't recognize. It's certainly an issue that people aren't comfortable talking about. We do have a North Dakota Human Trafficking Task Force. And we have found in the last 5 years, this is truly an issue for the kids that we get in placement. So we started doing some data and gathering some things, but I think the impact comes from the actual stories of our kids. So these are all vignettes of kids that have come through our doors, right? So we had a 14-year-old girl who was sold by her mom to get propane to heat the house over the winter. This was a generational issue for this family. Her grandmother had sold her mother, and now the mother is selling her daughter. We have a 13-year-old girl who had lots of daddies, quote unquote, that her mom gave to her. She was living with a 22-year-old daddy prior to coming to Home on the Range. She talked about a game that her and her daddy would play where he would hog tie her and she would try to get out of the ropes. We have a 15-year-old girl who was dating a 27-year-old felon who provided her with a place to stay and drugs. He took her to Las Vegas, got her high on meth, used her, and then left her in a gas station. High. This girl was taken to the hospital. She had no identification. Eventually, when she was sobered up and treated for her injuries, she was able to tell her who her family was and that she was from North Dakota. So North Dakota called, or Las Vegas called North Dakota Human Service Center. They knew of the family, and the family said, okay, we're on our way to get her. Never showed up. We're on our way to get her. The third time they said they were on their way to get her, they said they were already halfway through Montana, and they never showed up. So Las Vegas organized with North Dakota to fly this girl home with the parents saying, we'll meet her at the airport. The parents never showed. The sister was able to pick her up, and that's how we got her. These are all North Dakota kids. We had a drug-seeking mother sell her 16-year-old daughter to her drug dealer. The man injected her daughter with methamphetamine and then performed sexual acts on the daughter with the mother in the same room. Later, the mom was given the drugs in the parking lot of the hotel as a payment. This young lady grew up and took her mom's place as a recruiter. And these are not all kids from oil country. These are not only kids from reservations. These are not only kids from Fargo. These are kids from across your state. So we recognized that it was an issue. We got a lot of training in it. We've received national grants. We're pretty excited about that this year for education. We work a lot with our community providers like YouthWorks and BCI. And we gathered some statistics. So from 2019 to 2022, 79% of all of our girls admitted were suspected or identified, and 21% of those kids we didn't have any concerns about. So that's about 116 kids that we're talking about here from North Dakota. We went to the state. I worked with legislators to get a bill drafted. So Senate Bill 2341 was created, which would have allowed North Dakota to change century code that would allow a program specifically for trafficked and exploited youth to be developed. And of course, Home on the Range then would pursue that and try and get treatment for these kids that how the current system is set up isn't allowed. Currently, our average length of stay because of how it's set up is 3 months, and that's not long enough for these kids who are being trafficked by their parents, by their uncles, by their boyfriends who promise to love them forever, because they have to develop that trusting relationship. I then learned what death by fiscal note means, and so that bill didn't go anywhere, and they're just studying to see if it's a problem in North Dakota. So we revised how we gathered the numbers, and we further defined each of those categories. And here's what we found. From January 1st to 9/20 this year, 61% of our girls were suspected, 13 were of concern, and 26 were confirmed. So to be confirmed, that means that you have an open court case or there's judicial involvement. Suspected means, yep, the kid self-reports. I was sleeping with my 27-year-old boyfriend for drugs, and there's actually a case now with a guy who was Jamal, who was did basketball camps and would bring in girls that way and exploit them. So you can read about him shortly, I believe. And of concern would be there's lots of factors in this kid, like, oh, I run away 13 times a year and I spend the night with an older friend and then I come home when I'm ready. So those are suspicious things, right? Like there's probably something going on, but not enough to say. So those are the 3 definitions. And 100% of our kids, as you can see, for our girls are of concern. What's interesting is since the first of the year, our boys we've become better at how we engage our boys. And our boys, 64% of them, so 16 of them we had no concerns about. 4% we had concerns, 28% were suspected, and we have 1 confirmed. So our boys are being exploited, and sometimes that looks different than it does for girls, but it happens. Here's how we serve. You know, I mentioned TASE, and what we do is really out of the box. We do a lot of animal assisted therapy. There's a lot of research that talks about it, but I only have 15 minutes, so I won't delve into that. But human relationships for our kids are painful. They end in abuse, they end in exploitation. They're painful for our kids. So if we work with the animals who are so much safer to start to build some relationship skills, and then we work to transfer that, right? So every staff on ranch is trained in trauma-informed care, right? So we know that the harm took place in relationships, and that's where the work has to be to fix that, to heal that. So every time our staff engage with a kid, it's an opportunity to create new neural pathways in their brain, new patterns about how relationships can be. We take that very seriously. In addition to the bottom up stuff that we do have school, we have on-campus school. We also have access to the Beach High School. We've got a GED program we've seen a lot of success with. We've got an on-grounds spiritual development program. We've got our local priest, Father Vetter, who comes out and works with our kids and does a lot of spiritual development. And really, they do shop talk, our boys. So they meet in the shop with our priest and they just ask them questions. Have you ever had a girlfriend? Like, and our priest is great to have those conversations with our boys. He's so great. So that's been a great development also. I do have a couple of clips. I'm not sure what we're at for time. Are we okay to show a couple clips?
Sure.
That work?
Minutes.
Okay, so,
O'clock.
I'm sorry?
So we don't have nothing until 11 o'clock.
Okay. I don't know I don't know what I'm doing.
There you go. You
Can I
pause.
pause? Can we go back to the beginning just so I can preface this? I don't know what happened. So this is a girl who was talking with one of our aftercare specialists about home on the range and their relationship with staff. And so just so you know, that's what she's talking about. And it's the video is of the countertop because we can't show our kids' face and those kinds of things. So, but I think what she says is pretty powerful. And that's the why, right? That's the why we serve. Oh. There we go. This is another clip of, we do a lot of programming specific to our trafficked and exploited youth. I'm involved in a lot of it. This is the Ending the Game group. So this is a curriculum developed by a survivor, and she lives in California. And I have to say, I have her cell phone number because we're like best friends. And but she developed this curriculum, and we implemented the curriculum, and then we home and arranged it. So we added an equine program to it. So we do a classroom group, and then we go into the barn and we do an equine activity. is what this group was. Now we do the classroom group and we go and do what's called a rhythmic ride, but I'll get to that in just a minute. But this gal, she's kind of hard to hear, so I wrote it out in addition, but her task on this day was to paint the future, paint what she wants to see. And you can see in there, she talks about a lot of Native American folklore and hope. And it's a beautiful thing. And she had on her face a red hand and a purple hand for the missing Indigenous women and the murdered women whose stories were never told. So if we have time, I can play that, or you can read it. Play?
Yeah.
Okay. I tend to think the most power comes from the kids, right? Their stories, their interpretation of their experiences. Um, these are all incredible young humans. One of the other programs that we do for our trafficked and exploited youth is called a rhythmic ride. And so I get with the trafficked exploited girls with our incredible equine specialist named Les Barnhart, and we take six girls and we put them on bareback horses. And it's interesting because when you first put them on bareback, and these are kids from all across the state who, again, some of them have never touched a real horse, and you put them on bareback and they're like, like, oh my God. And it's the most incredible thing. I have them pick two songs that mean something to them, right? And we've had drumming, we've had Native American drumming songs, we've had hip hop, rock, country. These boots are made for walking is one of the songs the girls picked this quarter. And so the only rule is they have to be clean. They can't be explicit. So that takes a while. But we put them on a playlist and we put them on bareback and they're like, And so we gather in the middle at the very first group and we say, here's how this works. All you do is walk on the outside of these cones. Your only job is to make the rhythm of the music, match the rhythm of your body, match the rhythm of your horse. That's it. Tell them it's the easiest group on campus, right? But you take a kid who's experienced complex trauma and their brains are like scrambled eggs. When they get anxious, their brain, they can't access the thinking part of their brain. They just stay in the anxious part, right? And so what Rhythmic Ride does is work to exercise that part of the brain from when they get anxious and then bring them back to center. And so that you do that several times. And again, you're building new neurotransmitters, new pathways up in their brain. So we spread out, we walk around these cones to the music, and you've got girls that are falling off to the side that don't even know it because they're so out of touch with their bodies. So we'll see girls that ride you know, really tight and protecting, right? From their chest to their knees, they're protecting that part of their body. So they ride like this. What's scarier to me is the kids who are floppy and loose because they don't even own that part of their body. And so we watch as this happens. In between songs, we stop, we take a break. I do a little breathing exercise. Maybe we do some stretching. Maybe I say, wow, think about if there was ever anything unexpected that happened today, because I'll notice that, you know, Peppy took a bite out of Bear and Bear got pissy, you know. So I'll notice those things. Did anything unexpected happen? They don't talk, they just listen. And what did you do when something unexpected happened? What do you do on the outs when something unexpected happens? How do you respond to that? How do you want to respond to that? And then the song will start again and we'll go in the other direction. So you're working both sides of the brain and you're working to build from the anxious back down to the relaxation part. And, you know, after a few groups, we'll meet in the middle after the rides and you'll see that the horse's lips are soft, their ears are soft, the kids' voices are quieter, their breathing is slower. And you talk about, man, I really notice a difference between the first group and now. What's different? And they can identify it. And then you wonder, how did you get there, right? How were you able to go from up here to down here? What was that process like? Because again, you're teaching skills in the barn or you're teaching skills in the kennel with rescue dogs to take with them outside of the barn area. This is one of our girls that was in our ending the game in rhythmic ride. We've done several studies in our equine program, our canine program. A couple of them are published nationally, and we're in the middle of one now. So this young lady was 17 and then she turned 18 with us and she said, I want you to tell them my name. And I'm like, I can't tell them your name. Well, will you use my picture? I said, yes, but I can't use one with your, okay. So she was really excited that we were going to use something that she wrote to tell people about this experience. So she wrote in a journal that Home on the Range has helped me a lot and I haven't really been here that long. At first, I really didn't want to be here, but staff helped me and guided me rather than forcing anything upon me. They have allowed me to adjust at my own pace. I feel very cared about here, especially seeing staff go to extreme measures to keep us safe when they are not completely safe themselves. There are lots of groups to help you grow, learn, recover, and overcome traumas. Groups with the horses have helped me learn about forming relationships and have even showed me things about myself. There's a group called Ending the Game that teaches you about all sorts of trafficking and coercion. I have gained better relationships with the girls around me and gotten more comfortable talking about hard things that I went through. I am happy to be here, taking steps I wasn't ready to take at places before being here. Days do get hard, especially when living with a dorm full of girls. But in the end, it's like we've become a little family, which feels nice in a place like this. Support is a great help, and coming here, you get a lot of that. And I'm pleased to tell you that last week, this young lady moved into her own apartment and was all smiles and so far doing well. So that's the why, right? That's the why we do the work. How can you help? We are not done pushing for North Dakota to develop a program for these youth, the trafficked youth. Senate Bill 2341 was our attempt last year. So in 25, we're going to come again and again ask that North Dakota considers adding this to the Century Code because these kids exist. I see these kids every day. You've got kids that are trading sex for a place to sleep. You've got kids who are trading sex for food, for drugs to survive. It happens. We're certainly always available for a charitable donation. There's lots of different ways to do that. Home on the Range does qualify for the North Dakota tax credit. But mostly I really just wanted you to know who we are, who we serve, and why we serve, because we work with your kids. We care about your kids. So I don't know if any of y'all have any questions, any thoughts, concerns?
Thank you so much for coming in. That was really informational.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Thanks for all you guys do.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Michelle came to you from us here, so,
Michelle.
Yeah.
McFarland?
McFarland?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, she's a wonderful woman.
Mm.
Yes, and not at all a pickaxe. She has a heart of gold, that woman, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We were, Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
2-3 years ago. And some ladies from the Home on the Range come brought a couple girls. with
Yep.
them. And we visit with them for quite a while and it was pretty hard to know that they were there and you couldn't take them home.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
really sweethearts.
Yeah.
They were.
Yes, these are good kids who have had terrible circumstances. And it's my pleasure to get to watch that journey, right? These kids deserve good treatment. They deserve a good, safe place to be. And if we can
It
be
was
that.
hard to believe that the two girls that were there had problems or were in trouble or whatever.
Mhm.
They were just great.
Mhm.
So,
I appreciate that.
you know, Vicki Pennington,
Which one?
Vicki Pennington.
Man, the name is familiar.
Anyway, she's, does a lot of, with the, what do they call it? Home on the Range, the saddle bronc thing.
Oh, yeah, the Champions Ride.
And, yeah, met some of the kids through that too.
Yeah. I know, Brad Germanson is on our rodeo board and comes out and, I know he was digging post holes with our boys and our boys got the post hole digger from him and said, oh no, sir, the champ doesn't dig holes, you know? And Brad spent time just visiting with the kids and, you know, they're just kids.
Yeah.
They're just kids.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Yes. My pleasure.
Have a good
Thank you.
day.
Thanks. Oh, my goodies.
Don't forget your dog.
Brad,
Don't
Brad,
forget to take Dave with you.
Brad, you're up.
When you first started, you looked like Dave.
Give me something to eat. That's where I'm supposed to say something.
Need something to drink with that?
Oh, all right. For the record, my name is Brad Dennis. I live at 111th Avenue Northwest. So North Dakota directions, I'd be north on 22, take a left onto Gap Road or 4th Street. At the end of pavement, take a right on that new pavement, be 111th. And I live at the end. And Keith here, he's pretty close to that.
Oh, I guess, yeah, we're all doing names. I'm Keith and I ranch not far from Brad.
Primarily, I'm just concerned with the snowfall that we've had, keeping the roads from being extremely icy every time we get a snow event. And so just, you know, I've been driving that road since I was 14, 30 years ago, going to high school. The main difference between then and now is the amount of traffic that we have. We have a lot of traffic. You knew that. That's why you put a paved road there, but it's 24/7 traffic. So if we get snow at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's packed to ice by 5 a.m. And that's what they're not going to be able to deal with by running a, you know, a blade or truck up our way right off. And that's, I think, why some of the problem. The other problem, and I talked to David Lim this morning, he called me. Part of it too is going to be a communication issue because our weather is variable. Even in the summer, we can get rain in one spot 3 inches and how many miles away it gets nothing or very little. Same thing happens here. We just try to get a time limit kind of established. We had snow Wednesday morning, which was a day before Kilder was getting rain, and Manning, and I would assume you would get rain too. I didn't get this far south. You were getting rain on Wednesday. We already had probably 6 inches of snow. I remember that because the next morning, Thursday, I was headed to Dickinson that morning, dropped Colt off, my son. go get a snow blower already. By then they had late start, pardon me, they had early out on Thursday in Killdeer. And then they had a late start Friday morning for school. Which brings up, my son rides the bus every day. The bus ran every day, all 3 days, and it was extremely icy. There was trucks in the ditch. There's trucks chaining up. And that creates a lot more problems. Because once the truckers try to start chaining up to make the hills, they try to pull the side of the road. They're in the way. And well, I invite you to take a drive up north. Your new road's already starting to get tore up by chains. There's tracks starting at the red schoolhouse there, used to be the voting building. There's chain marks all the way up Lubke Hill, which would be like above Ben Murphy's there. The gap doesn't seem to be as bad as far as chain marks, but it looks like they put like a hard surface on that or something. That's a little different. And I don't know if they didn't, or if the chains were already on, they didn't spin. That hill's a lot steeper than that gap hill, but the problem with the gap hill is you have a hard 90 you gotta take, so you gotta slow down. You don't carry any momentum up that hill. The hills aren't the only problems, obviously, when it's icy everywhere. But those are the main concerns where trucks get stuck and you have traffic backed up for a mile and they're taking runs at it. Primary, like I said, I wanna go back to, it's a safety thing. Number one, my kid gets on the bus at 7 a.m. and he's got to drive through that. They pick him up at 7 near our house and they go all the way around the mountain after that. So if the roads are icy at 7, I mean, it just makes for a longer drive and a rough drive, and I'm concerned about his safety along with everybody else's that drives it. If there's an emergency that happens, God forbid an ambulance needs to go up there early or late or whenever, when the roads are that icy, how are they going to get through when there's trucks jackknifed in the road, that sort of thing. You know, there's of course, you know, local people having to do their local things, going to doctor's appointments and having to get to school, having to go to jobs, that sort of thing. And I don't have anything against truckers trying to make a living too, that have to go put chains on. And once again, there's not really a shoulder to put chains on that road. And you get sucked into mud pretty quick, especially after this, if you do get off that road very much. So, and then there's a lot of new tracks in the ditch also, as far as all that went. I don't want to come here and just complain. I want to talk about a solution. If that involves calling me to see what the weather is, I'm fine with that. Or I'll call when I have snow. Putting more tools in their tool belt if they need it. The glaring example is we hauled cattle back home from the reservation Saturday after all that snow and ice was still there. The brakes were fine. Both sides of the river were, wouldn't call them dry. I'm guessing they put brine down along with salt or whatever. I'm not a road foreman. I don't know what they use, but they put something down to make it perfectly navigable. We were hauling loaded horse trailers. Nobody had a problem. I don't like salt on my vehicle. I'm not going to be telling you to put salt all over the place all the time, but if we need to put salt on the hills, maybe that's something to do. I had an idea. I don't know. I'd be willing to visit with any of you. Call me anytime if you have any other things you want to talk about, or if, you know, I'm just trying to get this out here so that we're not dealing with it all winter, because we've dealt with it before. It was icy on that Lubke Hill. A lot of times there was already chain marks in it from before, but it just seems like the more pavement you get and the more traffic you get, the worse the problem seems to be getting. I feel like I've talked enough. You want anything you want to mention?
I guess the only thing that in my little pea brain is rolling around, you know, in the summertime when we get a big rain and the gravel roads get muddy, you know, we shut the trucks down for a minute till we can, you know, till things dry out a little bit. Maybe there's an option we could do something like that when we get a snow. Just tell them, calm down for half a day, guys, run the blades out over it. I think maybe Brad didn't quite say it the day we were hauling his calves back from the res. Yeah, there was literally a truck spun out on the Lubke Hill by Ben Murphy's. We call it Lubke Hill. That day, you know, we were going in and out of the river with no problem, and the gap road was a problem. And even when did we get this last snow? A week ago?
Oh,
We
yeah,
got-
I forgot about that.
we got maybe an inch of snow.
Inch or two.
And they were, like, I'm not the first one out of bed in the morning, but when I went from my house to Uncle Rodney's, they were already had a truck spun out of Lubke Hill that day. And it wasn't that much snow. It was just like Brad said before with the traffic. It's, there's no chance for anybody to get it off because the trucks are running on it basically constantly. And it just, if it's gonna stick, it's gonna get packed, and it's basically ice right away.
I don't know what the solution is, but it's been a really weird fall, winter. I know there's been a lot of times where we've had problems on the pavement there. There's been a lot of cases where I've seen they've had trucks spun out blocking Highway 22 in the Badlands. The other day when we had the inch of snow, I didn't know about it was supposed to be coming. So I woke up in the morning and was completely surprised too. And everywhere I went around our area, it was a sheet ice too. So it's really hard. That one, I don't know if we all knew it was coming, but I didn't. Some of those are hard to predict. I don't know what the solution is, but it's been a very complicated fall and early winter
Yeah,
with
the only thing,
the way the
the
weather has been.
And it has been, and it's tricky, but it seems like a real pity, like I said, they just put a new top on the 4th Street,
Mhm.
and it's bad already going up that hill. I mean, there's a set of tracks going all the way up, and you can see right where he stopped and just kept rolling.
There's
and
over a dozen set of chain marks in it.
It's,
Yeah, you drive slow and try and count. The other thing, what he mentioned last week, that's when the bus driver called me and said he wasn't gonna even try the gap because they were spinning. So I went and had to meet him another couple miles further. And that's going back to the bus driver thing. It ain't easy driving a bus. You don't expect the bus driver to have to chain up, do you? So at 7 a.m, that's a concern. I mean, I don't, like I said, don't know what to do there, but there's also some obvious things that, and along with the weather, I don't know if this is a known thing, but it's colder the further north you go, obviously, and the mountain does affect weather.
Yeah.
It affects it a tremendous amount. I mean, they can be foggy on one side and nothing on the other. We can have a foot of snow and you not, or vice versa on the other side. It absolutely does affect the weather. That also being said, we only have one road. It seems like the further south and east you go in the county, it's kind of a checkerboard because you use county lines. We don't have another road. The only way to go is all the way around the mountain, which is gonna be just as bad. Or you gotta take a private road somewhere back that's gonna take you way further around. So that not only is a primary road, it's the only road.
I also had a conversation with someone who was hauling cattle out on the weekend, actually, on a Saturday, and they said that they had everything they could do to keep those trailers on the road.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm David, by the way. Like you said, we spoke on the phone, so it's good to meet you both in person. Yeah, it has been crazy. Like I told him, I was out there on multiple occasions in the sand truck, and there were trucks everywhere chaining up and lines, and I can say that it was extremely difficult that first storm we got because the wind just wouldn't stop. So we unloaded plenty of sand that just kept blowing over, and like you said, traffic pulling it in. I mean, that's not excuses. It's we're out there trying to do it. I did say that we do have a sand truck that's supposed to show up. Unfortunately, it'll probably show up after the snow's gone for the year, where we've got an underbelly on it, so we can put some down pressure on and actually get that cleaned up. For the first time since I've been here, I actually sent a blade on the gap to get that off during that first storm, so we can kind of start over again because it just wasn't going anywhere. It's just really icy. So, yeah, and I do say I'll take some responsibility for that last Thursday. I was totally on me. I didn't quite get there in time, and then I had some other issues, but I do hear you. I gave you my number, both. I can give you my number too. Please feel free to call at any time. I kind of like your idea. I didn't even think of that. Didn't think about, we do shut down roads when it rains. It might be a really good thing to look into about when it's that bad to get some traffic off of
It
that.
wouldn't even take much, if we know
Right.
it's gonna snow, we're thinking, shut them down for a minute till we can get the snow off.
Yep.
And you're saving time anyway, because they're not getting anywhere.
It
They're just.
Right.
might actually help the clerks in the long run anyways.
It might even in the thing, get a bunch of them off so that they're not lined all up and get things cleared up. So, with that all being said, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I do appreciate you guys coming in though. It is definitely a concern even when we paved 111th for the road department anyway, because that's more pavement, but we'll continue to try and get that kind of taken care of. Hopefully, it's really hard in the spring everywhere too when the road's warm and then you get moisture and then it freezes even harder. So, like I said, those are all excuses. I'm not giving you excuses, just saying we're here and we don't like to see it that way either. So,
My question to you would be, what kind of schedule is it? So you guys run every day of the week, weekends? How does that work?
yeah, as we got right now, we got somebody on call all the time, really. So,
So it shouldn't matter if it's a Saturday or Sunday.
that's correct.
Okay.
Like that, I was telling you the numbers on that first storm. Yeah, we were out. Even Wednesday, we had a couple hours where we ran up there to get the kind of the snow off, but we were out that Friday and Saturday getting that clean too. So, yeah, weekends. I've been out there plenty of weekends myself. So,
And bus routes, of course, are the
Priority.
our primary, yep. And really, that on the pavements even more so, because we had the 3 trucks that we have within the county, they go out and that is their primary job, is to get the pavement first. So usually, the pavement, which is usually the bus route too, gets done.
And I guess I just we didn't want to just come and complain either. We wanted to just make sure you guys were aware of what was happening out there.
No, I appreciate you coming in.
I know everybody probably complains about the road.
And thanks for at least coming in with maybe helping with something for a
That
solution.
solution.
Yeah.
Anybody can complain, but
Yep.
I'll just like up at 5. I can give you a ring. Or you tell me when you don't want to get called.
That,
The night before.
that's one, Brad, get Dave's number and get something. Dave, give me someone else's number too that they can get a hold of in case they can't get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And then,
We'll
like
talk.
you said, you're right. We had way more snow out there than we had even in Kilder.
Too, it just seems like a few degrees colder. So if it's 30, 32 degrees, it's rain here and
Right.
all of a sudden
It does.
well, you had snow at your place? I
Yeah.
assume, yeah.
Well, and if none of this works, we'll just take the blacktop off.
No, I don't think so.
I don't want to deal with road construction again.
I knew there'd be a comment, Brad. I didn't know what.
No, thank you for the pavement. I mean,
Yeah.
that part is nice. I mean,
When it's new like that, it's tough. It's bad.
yep, no, it is. It's just maybe,
chip seal next year ought to help too.
yeah, but also maybe going forward, because I've heard rumors that maybe there's gonna be more pavement around that hill. Think about some lanes where somebody can get off with a truck, or maybe a wider shoulder, because there ain't no shoulder. You have this much beyond the stripe.
Yeah.
And-
Just,
And it's mud right now, like with that new, obviously they bladed and they're
yeah,
having.
there's no vegetation.
In the saddle. It is. There's a lot of tracks for that ditch.
And David, I think that there was discussion about that because of weighing trucks too. There was discussion about pull-offs and I don't know whatever happened with that.
Yeah, and we put right at the beginning of the
Right.
gap there, but the thing is what, I guess it was undersight when they didn't think about it till they hit the hills and then that's where it all backed up, but.
Gotcha.
And put them way early, like I said.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I don't, can truck drivers read? Maybe we need a sign.
Maybe just
But
a
I mean,
diagram.
It is, because they pull off quarter mile for the hill, they say, oh crap, I gotta chain up, and
Yep.
then maybe that's on another hill, maybe it's going around a corner, they don't care, and then,
Yeah.
you come
Yeah.
along your 4-wheel drive pickup and you gotta get somewhere, yeah, I guess we need,
They're taking the chains off somewhere too.
yeah,
And
Right.
sometimes that's right on top of that hill,
well, yeah, because they don't want to spin out again.
which you can see the inexperience because you can slide down a hill.
Mhm.
But we won't go into the inexperienced truck driver.
Well, Well, thanks again for coming in. We'll keep working on trying to
No,
figure
thanks.
out something.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If
Thank
you
you.
guys want to wait just a minute, I think we're about done. I'll get with you guys. Okay. Thank you.
I think that's everything. Anybody else have anything else?
No, if there is none, make a motion to adjourn.
Or a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by,
Mhm.
oh, thank you. Okay, motion made by Commissioner Clemens, second by Commissioner Dalzell to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Perfect. Thank you.